Everybody, Carlton Pearson here, your friend in expanded consciousness and radically inclusive love. Welcome to Come Monday. Come Sunday was the movie, Come Monday is the movement into broader ways of thinking and feeling and managing life, expanded ways of perceiving yourself as you relate to the universe, to the people around you, asking questions, answering questions and questioning answers. This is a very curious age. It's called the information age. This is the information highway and technology. Tonight we're going to have an incredibly interesting, maybe one of the most soul-stirring and provocative programs we've ever done, because I have some guests here. The author of the book, Jesus for a Digital Age, Accessing the Practice and Power of Modern Spirituality. There's a new kind of paradigm or spiritual reality that people are realizing. It's a mixture of Eastern mysticism, modern thought, ancient wisdom. We're all Pentecostal sons, all of my guests tonight. Majesty's going to sing it a little bit. We all have deep, abiding and abounding Pentecostal roots in the transcendent way of thinking. We're the edgy part of Christianity, like Sufism is the edgy part of Islam, and Kabbalah is the edgy part of Judaism. We're that edgy group in America, but it's the fastest growing aspect of Christianity on the planet, Pentecostalism, sweeping the world more than normal fundamentalist evangelicalism. And so we're going to talk about a transcendence. The theme for the program tonight is theism versus atheism, or life in a post-God universe. I am an atheist who is a theist. I believe in God. So I'm going to talk about that, some interesting things, reappraising, reevaluating what we believe and why we believe it is something that I encourage you to do all the time. We're into African American History Week. In fact, I got to remember to wear my I have some beautiful African garb. These two gentlemen are from South Africa. And we were recently there and visited Robins Island, where Dr. Mandela spent 27 years of his life, and most of those 27 years in prison. Actually saw the very prison where he was incarcerated and met some of the guards who were guards when he was there, and some of the prisoners who were with the guards. Interesting. That's not what we're talking about tonight, but these men have deep roots in African spiritism. We don't have time to get into all of it, but we've been having incredible conversations all week long since they've been here. And you're going to love this book. You're going to be able to download it tonight or get it on Kindle, because it's one of those books you can't put down. Michael Beckwith has a wonderful endorsement on here. Bishop Jackson Kosa, who's here, has a wonderful endorsement. I wrote a preface to it, but I was reading it again today, and I'm fascinated. I mean, it's riveting because it makes me think, and you know I'm a thinker. It has really pushed me into thinking even more broadly. Let's open with Majesty as we celebrate our culture as a people. African history, American history is not just African history, it's American history. Africans are the first builders, and even though we came here against our will, we didn't know where we were coming. Many of the Africans who came on slave ships never even had seen the ocean. Some of them walked as many as 200 miles by foot. To the bottoms of their feet were raw. Many of them en route to the ships, who had never seen a ship before, were menaced by animals, killed, alligators, tigers, literally devoured, and then chained, and you know the story. So our history is powerful and pitiful, but prophetic as well as pathetic. But so is yours. All of us, if you mix all the stuff together, everybody has pathos in their past, and a lot of us in our present. So we're going to touch on all of that this month, beginning tonight, with a wonderful program that I think you need to call your friends and say, listen, pay attention this evening. And if you don't get it all, of course, you can get it in the archive. What are you going to sing tonight, sweetheart? I've asked her to come. She always fills in with me. She likes to do things with her daddy, but she's very busy, constantly all over the city. But I ask her to do some things with me when she can, and I love it when she does. And if she doesn't, I don't talk to her for a week. No, I'm kidding. What's the name of this song?
Love will stand.
What is it?
Love will stand.
The bottom line of everything about the gospel of inclusion, radical transformation, is love, abiding, unconditional love. And this song will start us out tonight, and then we'll have our guests come on in just a couple of minutes.
All right.
Love will stand.
From the musical Memphis. fell in love with this song. My teacher, Miss Julie Hester at Jinx, introduced it to me for our show choir solo. And so, yeah, we all
Who wrote
fell
it?
in
You know
love
who
with
wrote it?
Oh, my gosh, I should know the name. I don't.
Well, go ahead and roll the music, son. That's okay, just roll it.
The sun is sinking and times got me thinking as we grow old, will our love stay strong or will it disappear? Oh, tomorrow's unknown, but today is our own. So take my hand, hold on with no fear, 'cause baby, 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 I'm here. I will see you through, I'll be there for you. We will endure what life has in store. Have faith and believe, like the air that you breathe. Love will stand when all else falls. Love will stand when all else falls. I've been put through hell more than I can tell. Now I finally see, there's one way to live. Be kind and forgive. I have the power in me. We will endure what life has in store. Have faith and believe, like the air that you breathe. Will stand when all else falls. Have faith and believe, like the air that you breathe. Love will stand when all else falls. Love will stand when all else falls.
Tomorrow we're going to go to the Jazz Hall of Fame in the afternoon. Also going to be officiating the Steve Ripley celebration at the Battle Creek Church tomorrow at 2. Those of you in the Tulsa area, he was the man that owned the church studio when we did all of our Azusa, great Azusa music there for years and years. He was a very close friend, a very dear man. David will be there, and it's just going to be, I think the Hanson brothers are going to be there. He's a wonderful man, so that's tomorrow. Well, this is African American History Week, and these are Africans. And they're really African Americans in the sense that they were actually born in Africa. I'm an American African. They're an African American. You know the difference? Because I was actually born over here 4 generations ago, 5, 6, I guess, back in the 1600s. But that's not really what we're talking about. But these men are spiritual. Their roots are spiritual, as my ancestors were. Probably some of the most spiritual people on the planet. The name of this book, this is Musi Sende. He's a very successful businessman, and he pastored for 20 years. He used to volunteer in Oral Roberts' office there in Johannesburg, And they would come and hear me preach back in the 80s when I was preaching for Ray McCauley. They're friends of his, one of the great apostles of South Africa. But I couldn't get to those guys. I didn't get to meet them. And they've been coming in and out of the country for a long time. Musi had an awakening. He'll tell you a little bit about that. We're going to get to that tonight. And I actually met Bishop Jackson. I call him Jackson. His name is Kosa, with Jackson Kosa. But I met him personally, but I didn't recall it until Musi brought him back into my life. These guys are two peas in a pod, and they run around the country together. They are some of the great leaders in South Africa. Bishop Jackson will soon be consecrated as the presiding bishop of the Pentecostal network of churches in South Africa. That are people that embrace their Pentecostal roots, and there are many, but also expand their consciousness and embrace metaphysics. Jesus was a metaphysician. Bishop Mason, the founder of the Church of God in Christ, was metaphysical, like Dr. George Washington Carver. These are men and women who are spiritual, and they transcend the physics or the physical aspect. It's just another word for spirituality. It sounds a little new agey and it makes some people uncomfortable, but this is a new age. And the name of this book, Jesus for a Digital Age, you know, this is a computer. Mine has an Apple. It's an Apple computer, and it has an apple with a bite out of it. I like to interpret that as being biting into the tree of the knowledge of God and evil, or good and evil. And the gods said to Adam and Eve, after they had eaten the so-called forbidden fruit, now they have become like us, knowing. Now they have become like us, scientists or scientific. The word knowing or knowledge is science. These men are thinkers, scholars, philosophers, theologians. They're humanitarians. And so they're some of my closest friends on the planet, and this book capitulates something that, and it really opens up an idea that will pretty much stretch you. Your traditions are going to be bent. Now, I lost everything when I began to preach the gospel of inclusion. Got me in a lot of trouble. I've gained a few of them back, but a lot of it's because of him. I don't have very many millionaire friends, but I pray for everyone I do have, as Earl used to say. So you can go to Amazon for the link for this book, but I want to read you some of the first parts of it before either of them say anything, because this is pretty amazing. This chapter is chapter 7. It's the appendix 7. After me, there will be no God. That's Isaiah 43:10. My apologia for the 21st century new atheism, the new atheism, okay? Just let me read a little bit before you turn the television off or slap your neighbor. Life in a post-God generation. Today we know that the universe we inhabit is largely a product of our own making. The cultural iconoclasms and realisms of our world, we humans created it, is what he's saying. All our doctrines, creeds, and commandments are man-made, man-concocted, man-manufactured. Hungry man, curious man, interested man, humankind, trying to find why it's here, trying to believe in a God that they feared, and they tried to please a fearful God and appease a fearful God and appease a difficult God. So we come up with all kinds of concoctions, hopefully, to glorify or ratify that God. We provide our meaning for the universe we inhabit. We provide. Even God, a very central symbol of meaning today, is entirely a human creation. Not the ultimate God, but most gods, and there are many all over the world. We've created these gods in our image and likeness, is what he's referring to. Even God, a very central symbol of the meaning today, is entirely a human creation. There are no eternal, unchanging, and divine doctrines. Ooh, dude, you're going to have to... Now, this is his word, okay? So don't write me, write him. Write me, just write him off. There are no eternal, unchanging, and divine... We made up everything. Everything is symbolic. Nothing is literal. Not even God. Oh, my God. I just called his name. Acts 17:28. To be post-God does not necessarily mean to be anti-God. I want to say that now, okay? Mm-hmm. To be post-God, that means after traditional models and modalities of God, does not mean to be anti-God. It simply means to understand God as consciousness we had to pass through on our way to understanding ultimate reality. Here's one of the ways you like them. Mad's like that. And she can't even read. No, I'm kidding. Here's one of the ways I describe, not define God. In the farthest reaches and regions or rhythms of consciousness, there is a nameless, spaceless, faceless, timeless reality that we title God. It's an intelligence, it's an awareness, there's a science, there's a principle more than a person, there's a personification. Not just a person with a long white beard sitting on a throne with a scepter and sandals and angels throwing grapes in his mouth and fanning him with palm leaves. That was my image for many, many years. He looked like Einstein or Yoda. And so my personal experience of God has shifted powerfully. He quotes American writer Philip Dick, who said, "Ultimate reality is that which does not go away even when you stop believing in it. Ultimate reality is that which does not go away when you stop believing in it." Wow. Have you ever considered the fact that your idea of God could be the greatest obstacle to your enlightenment? Are you aware that you will only get enlightenment after the death of your God? The beliefs, dogmas, and creeds you were taught about God are today the greatest obstacles preventing your own, he says, enlightenment. That's another word for regeneration. A born again and awakening. This is an alarm clock that's going off for millions of people. The problem is the alarm goes off, it wakes us up, and then we push the snooze button and go right back to sleep. Sometimes the light is so bright that it hurts your eyes, and you ask somebody, please turn the light out. People have been screaming that to me, and I have to kind of a little bit turn it on light a little incrementally because the light is so bright. The light of this book is so bright. You're going to want to read it. I just kind of whetted your appetite. I've got lines and lines and so much to talk about. All right, tell me can you start from your history of when you believe that Jesus was coming back in 1988? Can you go there?
Yeah, 1988. Actually, 1988, that's when I came to Tulsa. The CBM conference.
Charismatic Bible Ministries Conference, founded by Oral Roberts.
Maybe Center, yes. That's when I got hold of that book written by a NASA scientist.
Oh, you got it over here?
Yeah, I bought it over here.
At the conference?
At the conference, yes. At one of the bookshops. Because there were many stalls.
Oral didn't know we were selling that book, but go ahead. Okay.
I saw this interesting book that 88 reasons why Jesus is coming in 1988.
Wow.
And Jesus was coming in September.
That's in the book?
Yes. The Rosh Hashanah.
Yep, during the Rosh Hashanah Jewish festival.
Yes, in September. And I went back to South Africa around August and waited for Jesus to come and the world to come to an end.
Did you preach it?
Yes, I did preach it.
You told your
congregation?
Yes,
I preached it because it was a message from the New Jerusalem.
From Mecca, that's Tulsa.
It was a message from Mecca, and everybody had to hear it.
Wow.
And actually, my wife was pregnant with my first child, my first daughter. And so Jesus didn't come in September, but my daughter was born.
That was Jesus enough for a little bit, huh?
Yeah, no, actually, over the past 30 years, I've changed my theology. So then I said, okay, Jesus is the millennial generation.
Jesus is the millennial generation.
Yes.
That's what you believe a second coming is?
Yes, the Christ is a millennial generation because today, these are the people today who are leaving church in droves.
They're leaving churches or not even going.
They're not even going to church. So this book basically is not for people who are into church or people who are into religion or people, I'm not saying it's bad to hold on to the Jesus of religion or the Jesus of your church or the fundamentalist or conservative Jesus or whatever Jesus or the know-nothing Jesus. There are many kinds of Jesus. There's ignorant Jesus, know-nothing Jesus, fundamentalist Jesus. I don't know what kind of Jesus is your Jesus. But this Jesus here is not for religious people. It's not for people who go to church. If you're still going to church and you're still holding on to Jesus, maybe you need that Jesus until you evolve into a higher consciousness. This Jesus is for people who are non-religious.
Wow.
I think this is what Bishop John Shelby Spong
calls, John Shelby Spong.
Yes, Jesus for the non-religious.
Yeah, that's a book.
Yes. So this Jesus, I call him the Jesus for the digital age. The reason why it's Jesus for a digital age, because the millennial generation is using the digital gadgets.
Yes, technology and science. I think one of the things I've been saying that the new 21st century or new age, if you want to call it religion, will be a bridging between science and spirituality, humanity and divinity. It's just a naturally supernatural emergence. It is a synchronicity or a synchronism that is powerful and prophetic. We're sitting here with all this technology, and these men are smarter. This guy's really smart with IT stuff. I mean, he just phones and stuff always. I'm not that smart in it, but I'm spiritual. I'm a little bit more spiritual than him. He's technology. But anyway, I bless his name. Go ahead.
So, okay, basically then, when Jesus did not come, or when the rapture did not happen in 1988 in September, then me and God started having a serious discussion because we reached a crisis. In my heart, I was saying, oh God, listen, me and you have reached a crisis here. Because now your son did not come, but my daughter is born.
Wow.
So basically, that was something that led me into the secular world.
Really?
Yes, because then I started slowly moving away from God. And the following year, in 1989, I started my first secular job.
Now, even you were still pastoring.
So this is now 2009. 1989, I started my walk away.
But you were still in your pulpit.
Yes, I was still pastoring. I was still pretending and prophesying and lying and prophesying and lying. Because, okay, that's what I had to do. And because I was not sure, I was on a journey. And so it happened around 2007. I saw a book by Professor Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion.
Ooh.
The God Delusion, and something inside of me said, that book is for you. It had just been released.
Where'd you see it?
It was in one of the bookshops in Sentin. I saw the book, yes, but I didn't even know who Richard Dawkins was. I was only attracted by the title because I said, oh, this fellow, God, this is a fellow that I've been having a crisis with since 1988 when Jesus did not come.
Wow.
And now this book is going to answer my crisis and my questions about God. So I bought the book. And in August 2007, it was the 17th of August, after finishing the book and basically after I became an atheist.
Atheist?
Yes. After feeling that I had rejected the God of my grandfather.
Yeah.
The God of my grandfather and my grandmother.
Yeah.
Because I was born inside the evangelical church.
Evangelical.
I was born inside the evangelical church. I was raised by an evangelical grandfather. I was not
strict fundamentalist.
Yes, I was not into African spirituality like my friend here, because he can talk about African spirituality, but I was not raised into African spirituality. I was raised deep within the evangelical church. So what is interesting, there was a time when I moved from the evangelical church into the Pentecostal church. So
Around what age?
Around 1980. 1980, you know Reinhard Bonnke?
Yeah, Reinhard Bonnke.
Yes, when Reinhard Bonnke came with the revivals,
the
and
tents.
many people from the school, because I was still a student, I was doing my final year of college, and many people who went there came back speaking in tongues, and there were students with us in the high
you had
school.
been Baptist.
I was Baptist. I was raised Baptist, a strict Baptist.
Fundamentalist Baptist.
And actually, when that happened, the founder of the church started talking about these Pentecostals, people who are shouting. He spoke about Baal and Elijah.
Yeah.
He said, you see, these people are worshiping a dead God. That's why they have to shout.
Talker.
The tongue talkers. They are worshiping a dead God. That's why they have to shout so much, because their God is dead.
That's what the Baptist preachers say.
So don't follow that God.
Wow.
But now suddenly I came back
They
to
thought
church.
Pentecostals were crazy.
Yeah, no, they
Cultists.
church, they were cultists, and the God that they were worshiping was a dead God. That's why they had to shout.
That's why we're
You
here.
remember also Elijah was saying to the prophets of Baal,
Yeah.
shout, because
Yeah.
your God is dead. He says, no,
Cry out to it.
Pentecostals are crying out to God all the
Wow,
time, because the God that they're worshiping is a dead God.
He was using scripture to denounce Pentecostals.
Yes, but now then I came back to church speaking in tongues.
To that church?
Yes, and I was rejected. So I had to leave.
Look at God.
I was only 18 years old.
Let me ask you something. This is a little bit still on subject. When Jesus didn't come back in
1988.
88 September, did you feel? I know you felt
I felt
betrayed
betrayed,
or
yes.
rejected by God, or that ignored or fooled. What did you feel?
I really felt that I had serious questions about the Bible and Christianity, but at that time, fortunately, I had met a dear friend of mine, Jackson, and we started asking him these questions. I met him at Rima Bible Church.
Ray
So,
McCauley.
yes.
And
We
where-
actually
Going to
met in
church.
a bus going to
Going to church, yes.
church.
Yes.
You got on a bus,
Yeah, you know what?
commercial bus, or
Yeah,
they were
Rema used to bus people to.
from the townships? Too?
Yes, but we used to meet in a bus station, which was
A
going.
commercial bus station?
Yes, which was actually going straight to Rema. So most of us, me and him, because I still remember when did we meet? We met inside a bus. We didn't talk, and then going to Rema.
What year?
That was in the 1980,
85,
yeah,
Ray
somewhere
McCauley
there.
had studied here at the Rhema Bible Training Center under Dr. Dad Hagen, came back to South Africa on fire, started the Rhema Bible Church. It became the largest charismatic church in the country. I preached it.
1979. That was 1979.
Yes.
In 79,
Yes.
he was the first and really only white preacher to build a mega church that pretty much completely included, welcomed, wanted, and invited black people,
Yes.
colored people.
And it took me about 2 to 3 hours on the bus to go to Rima, because I was staying about 60 miles away, 70 miles away from Rima. Then I had to use 3 buses to go to Rima. So it will take me up to 3 hours going there.
Every Sunday,
Yeah.
or whenever you went.
No, whenever I went. Even when I went to Oral Roberts' offices in town, it would take me about 2 hours.
He used to volunteer in Oral's offices downtown. He volunteered in T.L. Osborne's. They went to see LaDonna while they were here, Bishop LaDonna.
You see, there is something very interesting about the Rema issue. Most of us were actually coming from Pentecostal churches. When Rema came with the faith movement and prosperity teachings, we did not have that.
It was
within-
apartheid. You were right in the middle
We
of
did
apartheid.
not have it within the Pentecostal churches.
No prosperity.
So for people to live wherever they were, like him, for 3 hours, it had to do with the messages that were taught by the faith movement, which were not taught in Pentecost.
And by the way, the Pentecost was the apostolic
Faith mission,
Faith
Assemblies
mission.
of God, and full gospel.
Apostolic faith missions were started by John G. Lake, William Seymour, who founded the Azusa revival, and Bishop Charles Harrison Mason, who received the baptism of the Holy Ghost in 1907, founder of the Church of God in Christ. They laid hands on John G. Lake, who went over there and was a part of the John Dowie. They weren't Pentecostals. Zion City, Illinois.
There were
Alexander.
Zionists from Dawis movement all over South Africa. So when John G. Lake came, he gathered all of them so that they can have the experience of Pentecost, because they were already having healing rooms all over the nation. So he brought them together, and out of that, we have what we call the Apostolic Faith Mission.
Incidentally, somebody said, AJ says, end time theology says Jesus is coming in the cloud and every eye shall see him. Perhaps it's the eye cloud.
No, this is
say
what
that?
Jesus for the digital age. Jesus is coming through the cloud.
Wow.
Jesus is coming through these gadgets. This is why today you go to church. When you preach, whatever you preach, someone is
Grabs
busy on
theirs.
they're checking
They
a
give their
message.
offering.
They use the cloud.
Yeah.
They use the digital age. They use the digital cloud to check whatever you're preaching.
And clouds are representative of mysticism, moisture, mist. God expressed itself many times in the Bible through clouds and crowds. You follow the cloud, not the crowd. Remember the high priest, the
Now,
whole sermon, the
what
crowd.
is good about this thing that you never lose information on this computer. Even if this computer can be burned, it can be stolen. Everything that is here
Is in the cloud.
is in the cloud. So whatever information you've got on your phone, on your computer, you will never lose it because it will always be kept in the cloud.
Wow. And yesterday we went to a church, a very powerful
Transformation
yes.
church here.
It's
Michael
my
Todd.
first time to see the altar call called that way. because when they ask for those who want to receive Jesus, you just answer from the phone that I'm saved.
Yeah. It was the place was packed. They packed it 6 times on Bishop Gary McIntosh started it. My associate pastor who started Higher D with me gave him 20 families. He goes up to the north side. They start this church. He retires and turns it over to Michael Todd, who is the son of Brenda and Tommy Todd, whom I hired in 1978 to move from New Orleans from Charles's service down there at church. They moved here. They didn't even have children. Now they've had children. Their middle son, Michael, has over 1 million people watching him on this in the cloud.
Yes.
Plus, he has about 400,000 that watch him. Yesterday's message. He's all over everywhere. He's only in his 30s. That place was packed. I cry when I go through there because I'm looking at a spiritual grandson, and they're using these iPhones all over the place. I got one, but they've got smartphones. We would make $1 million if we come up with a dumb phone for some dumb people. You need to be smart to use a smartphone.
And the thing is, what is interesting is that people are using smartphones to promote medieval theology.
Medieval,
primitive theology.
Wow. Using smartphones in the 21st century to promote something from medieval times and almost prehistoric. Interesting, guys.
Yeah. That is the human condition. So then in 2007, in August, I had this awakening. After reading a book written by Professor Richard Dawkins.
An atheist.
And God telling me that one is my servant. That Richard Dawkins is the prophet of the times. He is the prophet for the season that you are in.
Wow, man.
And then over the years, I began to understand that he is the person who's taking me to the calling of Abraham. When Abraham was called out.
Away from his people.
Yes, away from his people and from his gods.
Yes, that's true.
And from his traditions.
To go into a land he knew not.
So I was being called to get out. Get out of the God of your grandfather. Get out of your gods.
Wow.
Get out of your traditions.
Wow.
Get out of everything that you know. Go on a path that is pathless. Take a path that has not been tread. Yes.
No
Take
footprints.
a path. So there were no footprints. So then I began to understand that along the way, I have to create the path. Fortunately, I had someone by my side who was helping me along the line.
Yeah.
I remember I called him. I was in Europe. Then I called him after finishing this book by Richard Dawkins. Then, because me and him were no longer communicating, because he was...
You had already started your business here?
Yes, no, I was deep into businesses.
Yeah.
I was running the business. I was traveling the whole Europe. And basically, when I was reading the book and traveling in Europe, what I saw in Europe, all these churches that have become museums, it confirmed what I was reading.
Museums and mausoleums. More
Yes.
pigeons than people are in those churches.
And it confirmed what I was reading here. And then I called him from the airport. I said, hey, man, I'm reading a book here called The God Delusion. And he said to me, hey, I've read that book. And now, this is how synchronicity and parallelism works.
Synchronicity.
Yes. I'm calling him from Europe. He says to me, hey, I finished reading that book. I said, what is your opinion? Because now he's our guru. When it comes to knowledge,
Pentecostal preacher, though, seminarian, theologian,
Many pastors go to him
now
because he's a great scholar.
Yeah.
He's a great scholar. Yeah. So if you are not sure about something, you just call him.
Yeah.
So I was in Europe, even though we were not communicating.
Yeah.
So I said, let me get a second opinion from him.
Yeah.
Because now I'm almost at the door of atheism.
Wow.
So I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
And he says, you know what? God is using that person.
That's what he said. Yes. God is using that person.
When the reason I said that to him, earlier I had my own experience also. So
in 2006.
Oh yeah,
and you're still pastoring and preaching and teaching Bible school.
Yes. Because as a pastor, you are trained to fake it, and then you can't make it. Yeah. So, but the truth is, many people, they do come to an end of their religious life.
Yes.
But we differ. Muzi is very expressive, and he was no longer a pastor, but I'm a pastor, so I had to do a silent withdrawal, becoming very, very careful. So the way to enlightenment sometimes, and it's through atheism.
Through atheism.
Of course. So
Atheism. Theism
Exactly.
is a belief in a personal God who created a universe that he maintains and has relationship with the things he created.
But it is
Deism.
it is a Western belief, because if you go to the East, people don't, even that word theism does not exist in the vocabulary.
But deism, just belief in some
Yeah,
supernatural.
again, theism is also a Western phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the East, they call about Taoism. Taoism.
Taoism,
Tao, the
of
Tao.
course, yeah.
And they say the Tao that can be named
is not
is
a
not the eternal. Any God who can be named,
Isn't
any
real God.
who can be defined, is not the eternal
I
God.
agree. I agree.
Why
Any
is it
God who can
defined?
be named.
Because I mean, right here in America, the Native Americans, when they awakened, they called this the Great Mystery. Before it was called the Great Spirit, it was called the Great Mystery.
Yeah.
When it met theism, it was changed from Great Spirit
To great
to
mystery.
From great mystery
from
to
From
great
great mystery to
Yes.
great.
And I mean, the Apostle Paul says, we live, move, and have our being in the great mystery.
In the mystery. In that mystery, we live and move and possess our being.
And the reason I told him that Richard Dawkins, according to my view in this era, is one of the most anointed
Prophet of
people.
God, yes.
I was not talking about, when I say by God, because by this time I was no longer having a concept of a personal God. I was already studying because when you experience something inside,
Yes, sir.
you go outside to look for something that will make sense of what you are experiencing.
Inside.
Like your situation, when you had your own experience, we were following you secretly because we were scared of being punished like you. So, but anyway, when I told him that Richard Dawkins is the most anointed person, I was just using language that he understands.
And he can relate to.
And I could tell that he is experiencing exactly what I've experienced, and many people were experiencing. So that is why I told him. But what did you say with your friend when I said that?
Yeah, I told my friend, I said, hey, this guy, I told my father, I need to meet this guy. But incidentally, on the 17th of August, when I had that experience.
The 17th
Yes.
of August.
Of August 2007. Everything is in the book.
Yeah.
The first person I was led to call was him.
It was me.
Yeah, I called him because I felt
Were you
this
close
voice.
at that time or no?
No, we have always been close.
Yes.
In the
but-
church, seeing
yeah,
each other
Yeah,
around
yeah, yeah. It's a journey. Because from the time that we came out of all traditions, we always were working together, studying together, everything. But this time, I went deep into the bishopric and my own church life, whilst he went away.
You were
into,
consecrated during this time to the
Yeah,
bishop?
19 years ago. 19 years ago.
Carlington.
Joseph Carlington.
Incidentally, the very same place that you are going to consecrate me in March, it's exactly the same place where I was
That convention
consecrated
center? Yeah, yes.
19
Bishop.
years ago.
Bishop.
So we were not separated in terms of hostility. It was because of what all of us were pursuing.
Yeah.
I did not know that he has become an atheist because, you see, he was very smart. He silently withdrew from churches and became quiet and just moved on his own. But when we came together, we discovered each other. He could tell when I spoke in church that something has happened to that guy.
Still
But
the
we
same
were-
church, still the same
Oh
congregation.
yes, But we were very careful in the way we.
Approached it.
They say how do porcupine make love? They do it very carefully. So it's the porcupine way.
I think this lady wants to know how my family received my new thought, what I
Yeah.
call now the new thought spirituality.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's for all of us.
okay, for me, because the first thing that I said when I started writing books, I said, do not believe what I believe.
Oh, yes.
You need what you believe,
I
because
remember.
I don't want you to fall apart like Humpty Dumpty or Humpty Trumpty.
Yeah.
I got that from you. But for me, it was easy. I think being in business, business or having money.
Yeah.
Money is a source of power.
It answers all things.
Yes, it answers all things because because I have a lot of Nicodemus pastors.
Oh, Nicodemus, they come to him by night.
Yeah, they come to me by night and say, hey, listen, we agree with you, but we must remember that we are still pastors and we need the money.
Yeah.
I said, no, I don't need the money.
And
That's
see,
why I can say whatever I want to say.
That's why you have it, because you're free. I have a lot of pastors who are relating to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
They don't tell me they're watching this until after they've watched it for a while. They said, Doc, please don't stop. We're listening. One man said, I'm going through the second time through your book. I don't have a theological problem with you. It's a business decision.
You remember 2017 when you came? There were many pastors who came forward.
Hundreds.
Yes, hundreds. Yes.
I was stunned.
Yeah, there were many. Yeah, she asked a question. How did the family issue
relate? Yeah.
Okay, you see, with me, when I came out of African traditional spirituality to accept Jesus Christ,
family,
I was persecuted by my family because they thought I was insane. So this is something that happens all the time. Whenever you awaken, whenever you move from this situation, the very same people that you were with will always persecute you. So the persecution doesn't only come from family, it comes from church family also. So, but I'm used to being persecuted. When it comes to
was it painful back then when you became a born-again Christian and your family announced you?
In my case, it was very painful because I was the first in my family and the villages around. So when it comes to this awakening again, you find yourself being the first within your friends, within your church, and so on and so forth. But you get used to this because you see, you can't follow Christ without being persecuted.
Yes, that's true. I mean,
yes. Period.
Jesus,
Christ consciousness.
I mean, when you talk about Jesus for a digital age, you say Jesus is the archetype of humanity.
Yes.
So, I mean, remember Jesus, they were asking him, Jesus, here's a family around. He says, no, my family are those who do the will of the Father.
Yeah.
So basically, when you awaken, you discover new family members. You discover new people who understand you, who resonate with you.
They did come to Jesus and say, Eleanor, you may know this, your mother and brothers. They mentioned his sisters. He had 7. Your mother and brothers are here, and they're asking for you. And Jesus says, "Who is my mother and brother except those who know the will of God and respond to it?" That seems a harsh statement.
Yeah, it is.
All the time, you know, even when you study church history, the greatest enemies of the Protestants were the Roman Catholic, and the greatest enemies of the new movement is the movement that they were in. Look at this new awakening right now. Let's find out who are the most number one persecutors. These are the people that
not secular people.
The ones
that we have just come out of. And these are the ones who were persecuted by the former movement. So this is normal.
But again, in Moses, God speaking to Moses says, I will raise a prophet from within you, not from
among
outside.
your people.
So all prophets are always raised from within. I mean, for instance, I was raised from within evangelicalism. So I am called to evangelicals.
I remember praying when I first got the beginning of the revelation, which is far more extensive today than it was 15 years ago. I said, God, why don't you tell that to Oral Roberts, my mentor? Why are you telling me I'm a nobody? I need somebody with, you should tell somebody with money and substance and authority. And he's an apostle. And, you know, I was a celebrity, but I had no heavy weight like these guys. I mean, I was a celebrated preacher. I ain't celebrated today, but I was a celebrated preacher. And I really cried. I said, this is very touching for me, this part. As you were going through your part in 2005 and 6 and 7, I was too. And I said, God, I know I'm not the only person you're speaking to. You have to be telling somebody else. I can't do this by myself. I didn't know till several years later that you, all the way across the globe,
all over the world, around 2006, 7, and 8, it was a massive collective awakening.
There was.
All over the universe.
There was. There is a global shift in religious sensibilities that was occurring about that time. And it's touching all kinds of people, and the awakening continues. It's expanding. This is so powerful. This is the greatest African American history.
One of the things that I appreciate about today is that, you know, even if people persecute us, the evangelical, Pentecostal, charismatic movement does not have a moral standpoint to attack anyone. They don't even need us to disturb them. They are disturbed from within.
From within,
We have got so
there
many
is chaos
scandals
from within.
inside.
And we are, notice this. I noticed that the last time we were in Florida, sometimes you guys kept making fun of so many churches in every block. In Africa, you don't have that. But we are protesting.
Baptist churches, different Baptist churches.
Yeah, missionary Baptist. Baptist churches, there are more Baptists than there are people on the planet. But that's because of religious differences. Now, Catholicism, Roman Catholicism, you don't find 5 Roman Catholic churches on the same block. Rarely in the same neighborhood. We protested them, and because we are Protestants, that's our essence from Martin
And that's
Luther.
why we've got 50,000, more than 50,000 denominations, Protestant denominations.
In Protestant denominations, not Catholic denominations, Protestant denominations. It's a Protestant spirit. We have a victim consciousness. We are angry, and not all of us, of course. I preached this as you did for years and years, and I'm realizing now what was operating to me. Somebody asked me one time, what was the thing that you got most out of the movie when you sat and watched your story, that part of my story? This was in New York somewhere, and I got up on the stage. I said, it just hit me. I did not realize until I saw the movie how angry and frustrated I was. All those years of ministry. I used to sit in the Mabee Center, jammed in, packed with thousands of people, inside and out, and I was restless, and the anointing was there, the oil, the people, the money was good, the crowds were good, the preaching was excellent, and I kept saying, why does this not taste the same to me? It wasn't that it tasted bad, it was my taste buds had changed.
Yes, and I think also, when you speak about anger, sometimes I ask people, when they show anger towards me, I said, but this very anger that you are showing me shows me that I was right to move away
from you,
from you, and from the God who makes you so angry. I said, if God can make you so angry at me, then it means that God doesn't exist.
Whoa.
And one of the things that I want to share is that we are talking about Jesus for the non-religious. You know, it seems like the whole world is yearning for one thing.
Yes.
And that is the showdown that we're talking about. Whatever religion you are in, whatever Jesus you preach, the whole world judges you on one thing: unconditional love.
Unconditional love, yes.
People who don't believe in anything, they are looking for somebody who will say, I accept you as you are. I love you as you are. And that is Jesus to me.
Yes.
So when we talk about Jesus in the digital age, what kind of Jesus are we talking about? We're talking about unconditional love. We're talking about grace. We're talking about acceptance.
Sure.
So that is why this book is relevant to our time.
I'm sending this book as a gift to all the guys I know who are, and men and women who are on the edge and they're asking questions. They need this book. They're just right on the cusp of a major outpouring in their own home. You're talking about the Great Revival. We thought it was going to come another way. It's coming through the millennials. It's coming through the atheists. And when somebody tells me they're an atheist, I say, tell me, which God don't you believe in? Because there's a whole bunch of them. When they get through telling me which one they don't believe in, I say, I'm an atheist too. I don't believe in that God either. The greatest move of the Spirit has been prophesied by so many people over the years, the great evangelists. This new age and new model where people look into the cloud and they smoke a joint and they're trying to get to that ether. All this whole idea with cannabis and weed in this country is really big hot topic right now. It's not that people want the weed. People want an experience that is extraterrestrial. They want an experience that is non-religious, that is what we call transcendent. It's and non-judgmental and no shame. Now that's scary to religious people. When's the last time, the scripture says Adam and Eve were naked and felt no shame. When's the last time you were naked and felt no shame? You know, the finest bodies on the planet are shamed when they undress. Yes. According to the Hebrew Bible, we all started in nudity, some aspect of vulnerability. That means you were exposed and expressive, and you expelled anything that wasn't like that. That's a new kind of age we're coming in that's powerful. When Bishop Ellis said to me, that pivotal experience, as you alluded to, people were so angry, when he said to me, my daddy been in hell. And it's in the movie, and I tried to get him to tell me how long he's dead, and if he could, would he get his dad out? I'm not speaking out of turn because I love the man. I can't help it. I've known him for years. He's a crotchety old man that loves God, but that's just the way it is. But he said, my daddy been in hell, and I said, could you get him out if you could? If you could work out a deal with the Holy Ghost, with the blood, with Jesus, with the God, would you? And when he couldn't tell me yes, and he was a bishop whom I respected, he's the man that brought in the pageantry to the Church of God in Christ, that studied directly under Bishop Joe. And I saw all those bishops sitting out in that car, about 400 or 500 of them who paid to come to see me ambushed. I saw them and I knew their hearts. And I said, this is not for me anymore. If that man cannot tell me he would do anything to get his own dad, his own dad, whom he said, I forgave him, I love him, I adored him. I said, well, how can you not? Just make it, you folks out of hope we're right.
You know, the days of opening this quiet Bible that is innocent, it's over. So when you are angry, and because of your own fleshly frustrations, then you get into this book and then you open it, you become naughty, you bossy people around.
You become naughty.
Yeah, those days are over. Those days are over. Why? Because the very same Bible says, what you know, I know. Therefore, I'm not inferior to you. You see, so what people must understand is that we're in a situation where we seem to know everything together.
Especially with the digital age.
Exactly.
There's nothing that you cannot know. There's no question that you cannot ask today.
People
and that phone cannot answer. Your phone
and
cannot
these
answer.
kids can take these phones and just get ask any question about anybody, anywhere, and they do it so quickly.
And they're not interested in an angry God.
Yes.
They're not interested in a judgmental God. They want their God.
Ultimate reality.
Which is unconditional love and acceptance and inclusion.
You know the song we sing, he's got the whole world. Let's give you a phone. In his hand, he got the whole wide world. When you have your cell phone in your hand, anybody's. Now you got the whole world. In your hand, you got your whole world. Your banking, all your addresses, your contacts.
I mean, what is called infinite intelligence is right here in this thing. And that infinite intelligence is growing.
Unending.
Every day. Every day there are new ways coming into this phone.
Infinite means without end. It's the information highway. The scripture even prophesies that knowledge will run to and fro in the land.
So the thing is God finite or is God infinite?
God is infinite.
So if God is finite, then God can be contained in a book. But the God who's infinite can be contained in a gadget that is always evolving.
Yes.
That is always evolving if knowledge, bringing in new knowledge and new understandings.
Absolutely. It seems like a harsh statement to say there is a God before, beyond, and beside the one in your Bible. That's the one I know.
But the one in the Bible said, before me, there was no God.
Did say that.
Then it says, after me, there will be no God.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember when Muzi called us to come and look at the world through his eyes as pastors. When he announced that you don't have to believe what I believe, all of us were so freed because he was ushering us into a different way of thinking. Now, coming back to the issue of God, I think what we are experiencing today is like we are experiencing the same thing, all of us. When you walk away and say there is no God, like me and him, we used to argue because I really wanted to know which God is no longer there and which is the thing that is telling him that there is no God.
We went to the World Parliament of Religions last year in Toronto in November. I mean, there were 220 religions there. But all these 220 religions, people had the same experiences.
When you talk to them.
They are working out.
Unconditional love and inclusion.
We sat with people who we may have even considered atheists. And they're all, when you hear their experience of God, it was all very transcendent, almost identical awakening, whether we were sitting with a Buddhist monk or a Hindu goddess. And women, when we met with those
13-year-olds.
Yes, and then there were some People, even atheists were allowed to be there. They had their own.
Yeah.
We sat and talked with some.
I had one Hindu goddess open my third eye, and I started flying all over. That's how I got to call you.
At night.
Oh, he was way up to when he called
We
you.
were fighting at night. I took my phone off the hook. I said, hey, you know.
No, you were not coming there.
Yeah.
You came there because of that 13-year-old Hindu goddess.
Yes.
Then I called you at 3 a.m.
Yes.
Come here.
I said, are you having communion and drinking you all of it or something? I'd like to buy
And I tend not to like those things, but you know what? Before I went to Toronto, my doctors told me that I have developed some fat around my liver. So I'm very skeptical by nature, you know.
Yeah.
And then she looked at me. She said, "I see a liver surrounded by."
She did.
Then I, you know, those things don't surprise me
That was the
because
Hindu little goddess.
because you see, my aunt was a sangoma or a traditional medicine woman. So this issue of the
African spiritism.
Oh yes, the supernatural discernment, all these things. They don't shock me. In fact, when I came to church and I see pastors trying to fake the gifts of the Spirit and whatever, I used to sit down and say, "What? My aunt used to do it better than them. They are just struggling. They have not developed the art very well because my aunt was very accurate."
Yeah.
So I was excited to see. They were laughing at me because they know me, you know.
So I think just to end, just to say that something new is happening, because there's always been new things happening.
Yeah.
Now we're at a time and an age where something new is happening to all of humanity. So people must open their eyes, open your eyes, and you are evolving. You are evolving as God. You came from God, you're going back to God.
At Oral Roberts' memorial service, my mentor, whom I love so desperately and so dearly, Richard and Roberta were eulogizing him. And at the end, the only time I didn't expect to cry at all, but Richard started singing at the end, "Something good is going to happen to you." And that took me back in 1971. And I started crying in the service. I was sitting next to Randy, his gay grandson, who wasn't even going to come to the service. I insisted he come and sit in his father's service. And I was sitting next to my wife and John Sarah Powell and Marlon Lavenhar. And I started crying. And today when you said something good, something new,
Yes.
I could say that same thing. Something new is going to happen
To you.
Happen to you this very day. Something new is going to happen to you. Jesus of digital is passing
your way. There is hope. There is hope for the whole world, and the hope is Christ in us.
And
the hope of glory.
Jesus for the digital age is rising as you.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. This is powerful. We could go for hours. We need to do a whole series on this. I'm gonna get on this book and really work. Our time is out, isn't it? We have 1 minute. So we'll go to the promo, and we love you. If you want this book, the information is on the screen. Tell your friends to listen to this later.
It's
We'll have it
available
archived.
at Amazon, on Kindle, and on hard copy as well.
It's on Kindle, so you can just download it and start reading it tonight. I mean, you won't
Even
won't
now.
write it down. Even now, while we're speaking, you can go to Amazon and order it right now. You won't stop talking about it.
You can even download the Kindle into your digital gadget, into your phone.
Amazon links is in the comments. Okay, great. And then I'm going to go into a studio and record this. Read it and record it so it'll be on audio.
Wow.
Because if he do it, you ain't going to understand it.
No, but he's going to record it in American.
Yeah.
We speak Afro-English.
Because we say Jesus
Afro-English.
Jesus spoke Americano. Aramecano.
Americano. I'm going to go in the studio and speak in tongues. A tongue you can
Americano.
interpret. This will be wonderful. We love you. Thank you for your time, for your attention, for your consciousness. God bless you and God be you. See you again next time. Hello, everybody. I'm Carlton Pearson, and I am so excited about the beginning of ComeMonday.org. Come Sunday was the movie. Come Monday is the movement into broader enlightenment and life. And as a member of Come Monday, you'll receive 1 video each Monday for the entire year. That's 52 videos in total that you'll receive every Monday morning to get your week started out on a positive and powerful note. I will also be sending you one email each day, Monday through Friday, that will support the thought of the week. That's 260 emails throughout the entire year to inspire the genius
inside of you. We will also provide a private Facebook group so that we can all come together in a safe environment and discuss personal, pertinent, powerful issues. You will also receive a digital monthly newsletter full of interesting updates and current events and exciting pictures. And I also want to offer you special VIP access to all of my events when I'm in a city near you, because I love to meet my peoples. And finally, we'll offer special pricing to cruises, concerts, live events, all for standing with us and becoming a ComeMonday member. So sign up now at the special introductory rate of just $3 a month. That's just $36 for everything for an entire year. I think I'm going to sign up for that myself. You're on your way to greater enlightenment. I want to meet you there in consciousness. So go to your phones and computers now. Sign up and meet me. Come